Let's talk about aerodynamics in cycling. You see, the Tour de France is long. This chart shows each stage's distance and elevation, with flat stages in green, hilly in blue, mountains in red, and time trials in gray. Add it all up, and the riders cover over 3,300 kilometers, with over 52,000 meters of elevation gain. It takes more than 80 hours to finish, and the most important skill is saving energy. This right here is called the peloton, a tight group of dozens of riders that sticks together every stage, not because they're best friends, but to reduce drag and conserve effort, because riding in a group dramatically cuts down on how much energy each rider has to spend, and these energy savings can be massive. Let's look at cyclists from different parts of this peloton, with black bars showing their actual speed around 50 kilometers per hour for the entire bunch. Then we add in colored bars that show how fast riders would be going if they were alone, depending on the aerodynamic savings at different spots here. The rider at the very front gets about 7% less drag, equivalent to riding solo at 47 kilometers per hour compared to 50, shown here with the red. The rider on the front edge here in yellow would save around 35% in drag, or the equivalent of riding alone at 37 kilometers per hour. The savings keep getting greater the further back you get, until deep in the back of the pack where air resistance is lowest, and riders can save up to 95% on drag, which is like pedaling solo at just 11 kilometers per hour, around 75% slower than the front rider effort. So that's the very basics of the peloton, but eventually someone has to break away from the pack and try to win, especially on those flat stages. So when it's go time near the end of the race, teams will launch a lead out by pushing ahead of the peloton with a few of their riders, taking turns at the front to guide and protect their sprinter, shown here in green. On this year's tour, we've worked with the Lidl-Trek team to gather sprint data, and these charts are representative of what would be a nearly perfect lead out and finish. First up, this chart shows how fast that lead out group goes, with the x-axis counting down from 3,000 meters to the finish line. The whole group of 5 will stick together and go essentially the same speed. Then the leaders will begin to drop off one by one until the very final stretch, when the speed picks up, the final teammate drops, and the sprinter powers as hard as they can to try and win. Now let's look at another chart of the same situation, with the same exact x-axis and rider lines, but this time the y-axis shows the percent of their max power each rider is giving. Keeping those aerodynamics from earlier in mind, the lead riders at the top here, going the same speed but exerting around half their max power, while the other 4 are below, each saving energy by being behind the leader. As each leader drops at those same checkpoints on the chart, the remaining riders increase their power to take their place and maintain speed, and as they approach the very end, the final teammate will eventually drop, and the sprinter will blast off alone, reaching almost 100% of their power to try and win. This data is all idealized for clarity, and anything can happen at any moment on tour, but the intention of teams is to have graphs look like this in each sprint finish, something that Lidl-Trek sprinter Jonathan Milan knows all too well, as he's worn the green jersey as the top sprinter for 12 stages this tour. Follow for more sports data visualizations.